Good evening and welcome to Aging Together's 7th annual 5 over 50 celebration event. We are so glad you are joining us this evening. My name is Ellen Phipps and it's my honor and privilege to be the Executive Director of Aging Together. Aging is not something that randomly happens at a certain birthday. We are all aging from the moment we are born until we die. And it's really time that we begin to reframe the way we think about aging in our society, to honor and celebrate growth and development and experience, and to promote elderhood and old age. That's what we're all about here at Aging Together, and tonight we're celebrating some extraordinary people over the age of 50. These individuals have contributed to their communities to make this world a better place. As many of you know, this event was due to take place in May to coincide with Older Americans Month. But due to the unprecedented circumstances through the COVID-19 pandemic, we are here tonight brought to you virtually on this virtual platform. This is thanks to many people who made it possible. Our hardworking staff, the committee, 5 over 50 committee, our board of directors, our many volunteers and partners to make this special event happen tonight. But it really could not have happened without the dedication and expertise of Culpeper Media. I want to take this moment to thank Culpeper Media, Jonathan and Nicole. They have traveled to each and every county to capture the interviews of our honorees, and they spent hours piecing this together, editing, to make this event possible tonight. Our top-tier sponsors include Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services, REC Electric, and Orange County DSS. We thank you so much. I had the honor and privilege to meet with each of our honorees and hear their extraordinary stories. Though they all come from different counties, different backgrounds, and they've all contributed in very different ways, they all have one thing in common. The people you're going to hear from tonight are selfless people. They are all about helping others that are less fortunate than themselves. They have made their communities and our world a better place through their selfless acts of kindness, hard work, and dedication. But hey, don't take my word for it. You'll see for yourself in just a little bit. It's now my pleasure to introduce the chair of our board of directors, Lisa Peacock, coming to you live from the Culpeper Media Station in Culpeper, Virginia. Lisa, over to you.
Thanks, Ellen, and welcome everyone. I just want to remind you that this is a live event tonight, and I'm being told that sometimes things do go wrong, so if they do, we hope that you'll forgive us and we'll smile and we'll just keep moving right on through it. As you may know, by the year 2030, 25% of our region's population will be over the age 60. And that the growth in that, the highest growth in that segment will be in age 75 and older. So as a region, how are we going to meet the growing needs and preferences of the older adult population? Aging Together works to foster partnerships and pulls communities together to address these needs. Aging Together, in response to the COVID-19, worked with our partners to develop a community directory and guide for seniors. It provides a wealth of resources and information for seniors for areas such as housing, transportation, medical assistance, and caregiver issues. iPads for Seniors is another program that Aging Together developed in order to address senior isolation for those in long-term care situations. What the iPads for Seniors does is provide an iPad to a senior so that they can have connections with their loved ones and connections with the outside world so that they can have good communication and feel supported during COVID-19. We also developed a regional coalition of partners that meet on a monthly basis for us to discuss and address senior issues and concerns. Along with celebrating the people that inspire us, 5 over 50 is our signature annual awards program. I just want to note that it's been a little bit of a challenge this year, but we are excited to be coming to you live tonight and honoring the 5 over 50 this year. If you have already made a donation to Aging Together, we really appreciate your support and wholeheartedly thank you, not only for your financial support, but your year-round support of Aging Together and our events. If you have not made a donation and you're so inclined, please visit our website that's been newly revised at agingtogether.org. Please find the donate button and click on that, and if you are so inclined, please make a donation. Also, while you're on our website, take the opportunity to look at all the resources that are available, as well as consider liking us on Facebook. We would really also appreciate that support. And please let your friends and neighbors know about Aging Together and all resources that are available to help you as you navigate Aging Together. I would be remiss if I did not take a moment on behalf of Aging Together to thank Culpeper Media. They have single-handedly helped us put this event together tonight. And before we actually begin the program, it's my honor and privilege to present a special award. Aging Together would like to thank Culpeper Media Network for all their work on helping us put this event together. So I'm going to ask John if he would step from behind the camera for a minute and come over so that I can present him with this award that is impromptu. He does not know about this.
Are you serious?
I'm sorry, I'm going to stick my mask on because we want to make sure that we are doing this properly. And John, if you would come on over. And this award is for Culpeper Media. Thank you for your continued support of older adults in our community and for getting the word out about Aging Together. So thank you, John.
Well, thank you. Nicole and I had a great time doing this.
Wonderful.
And it's great working with you.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Yay, it was a surprise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys.
So our program will begin with our first honoree from Culpeper, who is David Doc Snyder, and he will be introduced by Jeff Hollis. Thanks, Jeff.
Hi, how are you doing? My name is Jeff Hollis, and I have the great privilege of talking to you about Dr. David Snyder. I've known Dr. Snyder for 30 years, and during that period of time, I have come to know Dr. Snyder as a father figure in many different ways, a friend, a dear friend, and someone who has had an enormous impact in my life. I was asked to outline the summary of Dr. Snyder's life and the accomplishments and what he's done. But to give justice to Dr. Snyder, imagine asking your friends, tell us about Vince Lombardi, the impact Vince Lombardi. Here's a fact. Vince Lombardi won only 96 professional football games as a coach. So by today's standard, he doesn't even register, but he is one of the greatest coaches of all times. Football coaches anyway. So to me, Dr. Snyder is my Vince Lombardi. He may not, he doesn't make national news. He hasn't taken a company public. He hasn't, but let's don't focus on what he hasn't done. Let's focus on what he has done, because he's done far more for this community to make it impactful than anyone I know. And he is truly my Vince Lombardi. You can say, well, what has he accomplished? Has he built businesses? Has he created empires? Not really. What he's done, he was a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon in a small town in rural Virginia. He provided care for patients with broken bones, bad backs, bad knees. On top of that, he created and founded an organization, an entity by the name of Verdun Adventure Bound. And I happen to be on the board of Verdun. I've been on the board for 25 years now. But I'm sitting talking to you from Verdun Adventure Bound. Most of you have never heard of Verdun, as we refer to it. It's unfortunate because Verdun is a perfect oasis. It's an oasis from the real world for kids, for adults, those with challenging mental health issues. It's truly an oasis. It's wonderful. A refuge from the real world, if you will. But Dr. Snyder created that. That's the impact that he continues to have in this community. He didn't take a company public. He's not the richest guy in the world. Oh, excuse me. Dr. Snyder is by far the wealthiest man I'll ever know in my life. He may not have all the money in the world. I guarantee you he doesn't. He's not flashy and showy, but by my standard, he is the wealthiest man I know. He has more value in his soul, memories that will last a lifetime, happiness that he's brought to others. I could go on, but you understand. It is not money that makes a man wealthy. It is that which he is to the rest of the world around him. And that's Dr. Snyder. Somebody asked me a long, long time ago, said, hey, who is Dr. Snyder? Give us his description. Is he Bill Gates? Is he Ted Turner? Or is he, no, Dr. Snyder is a combination of three people. First and foremost, George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. Most of you have seen It's a Wonderful Life, and you understand who George Bailey is and what he did for his community. Selfless was his actions were selfless. That's Dr. Snyder. It was never to benefit Dr. Snyder. He created Verdun because he wanted to give back to the community he served, he lived in. So that's George Bailey. Another third is Indiana Jones. A lot of people don't know this about Dr. Snyder, but years ago, he used to take trips around the world, mission trips. He went to Russia. He's been to Haiti numerous times. And when he goes, he's not a sightseer, traveler. What he is he's someone who will make an impact and a difference in those worlds. He goes and he's a volunteer medical missionary, performing surgery to those that will never know cures. He's there to help them. Finally, the third of his personality that complements the other two, he is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if you understand Star Wars, the Force, and the impact of good in the world around you, that is Dr. Snyder. So you put that in a cake pan, you mix it a little bit, and out popped Dr. Snyder. So it is with great honor that I have the privilege of introducing him to you, because he truly is the most selfless man I've ever met. I'm here because of Dr. Snyder. And the gratitude I have for him is enormous. But I'm only one of thousands of individuals in this community that he's impacted exactly the same way. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Snyder to you.
Well, I'm glad you two could come out and visit today. We've ended up with a wonderful day. And today we had a group of our kids here, and they were climbing our high ropes. And that's another group of 15, 16-year-olds that are launching into their lives. And that's what this place is, Verdun Adventure Bound. Okay, Verdun means green place in French. Adventure Bound means that your children should be on an adventure of discovery to their garden within. You know, and I often say, well, maybe I did pretty well, but it wasn't because of me. It's because I met this lady in Woodward and Lothrop, which was a store in Washington, where I went. I was at Georgetown then. She was at another school. And we were, it was a good job. And we met each other. And that's how it all started. Well, we moved here in 1975. Oh my God. Now, when we moved here, Dr. Kauk, David Kauk. I was invited to be on the staff at the University of Virginia, at Medical College of Virginia, okay? And the problem was they were starting to do things that I wasn't interested in, like publish or perish. And I didn't want to do that. So I came up here, and I wanted to be halfway between Culpeper and Warrenton. Just happened to turn out to be 12 miles both ways, either way. And so I came up, okay, with this fellow to see Dave Kauk. And he took us to a golf course, and we spent the afternoon. I was so impressed with this man, okay, that I called him up and I said, I'm coming. And he said, but I already hired a guy. And I said, I know, but you hired a bachelor. Bachelors don't make it here. There's no way. If I was a bachelor, I wouldn't even show up, you know. And so he laughed, and sure enough, this guy left and I stayed. And then we decided to build a group, okay, that was very, very much like a group coming out of Vietnam, okay? And we put that group together, and they cared so much about the people we took care of. There was no time where we didn't work for these people. You know, and that's what we did. And then I needed a place to live. Well, this farm at that point, when I came in and found it, bingo, it was an old cattle farm that hadn't been used for years. You know, and when I found it, my wife saw it, she found it. We loved the old house. We loved the way it looked to the west, to the east, and our 3 daughters loved it. So we bought it and we started to build it. Now, when I worked on a golf course when I was in high school, I worked for a guy who really took care of all the trees, and I worked for him. And he sold me on trees. There was nothing more amazing than trees for me. And we started planting trees. All of these trees you see here, we planted. And I had kids in the high school help me plant these trees. And then I decided, well, you know, it's important to have these trees, but what's more important, these trees are all young. So are all our youth. They're young. They're good timber. And I started to focus on them and focus on their families and their schools. And we actually ended up then building camps. And Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were big for me. So we had the Boy Scouts here, the Girl Scouts here. Then we had families. We had a Native American Indian come here, and after he was here for about 2 weeks, he said, Docs, this ground is sacred. It's sacred for the youth. And he came up and he helped me for a number of years in the summer to work with the kids. And then we had college kids come down. And so all of a sudden we're plugged in to grade school, middle school, high school, and then after that. And they started coming back. All these people up here working with these kids, I started working with them when they were very young in school. And I just loved working with them. And that's what it was about. You know, our country needs this, okay? Not money. You know, it doesn't need rich families with big-time cars for their kids. No, we were just talking about that today. And I said, you know, you've got to decide where God is in your life. Because what it's about love. And when you talk about love, it means to will or provide the need of another. Will or provide the need of another. The meaning of God is not a person. He's not a big guy with a big beard. No, he's a form of love for the entire universe. It's this oneness. And we all can fit into part of that oneness. And that's what we want to do. My wife has done that and showed me how to do it for a long time. Unfortunately, she's lost her memory. And so I'm working with her in her garden until she's called home. And then I'll make sure she gets home. So, this is, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful thing you try to do. You know, and this is right up here, these kids, they come in the morning and they're just full of a life they've never had before. And we're going to continue to do it. So, all these things happen. And that a lot of people have taught me, and I pick up the ball and run with it. That's all I know. The ones that I love to do the most are families with their children. The families come out with the kids, and we put them in a camp, and they encounter this with the kids. You know, and it's just the adventure of discovery to the garden within. That's what you got to do. You know, what's your garden going to be like? What you harvest in your garden, how are you going to use it? How are you going to give it? But and I tell the first thing I tell the kids, be a giver, not a taker. You see a fella forgot his lunch 2 times in a row. At lunch, go over and sit down. Tell him, say, I had a little too much to eat. Why don't you have my sandwich? And see if you can get him, okay, to be a friend, and you be his friend. And all of a sudden, things change. It's not the sandwich anymore. It's 2 friends.
Congratulations, Doc Snyder. I will never forget the first time we met and you told me the story of the acorn and the oak tree. Please remember to leave a comment on Facebook and show your support by visiting agingtogether.org. And if you're so inclined, please consider making a donation. And now we'd like to hear from about our honoree from Madison. It's a couple this time. It's Jerry and Judy Butler. And Shirley Workman is here to introduce them. So Shirley, I'm turning it over to you.
The 5 over 50 award should go to people who've actually made a difference in other people's lives. And Jerry and Judy have absolutely made life better for the people that live in Madison County, particularly the seniors. I nominated Jerry and Judy Butler because when I started with this agency about 11 years ago, Jerry was part of the Triad. The Triad is the Madison Sheriff's Department working with the seniors to protect them from scams and things like that. Jerry represented us by the Sheriff's Department until he retired from there, and then since then, now he works with my seniors here. I actually have one senior that goes to the post office and gets money orders and sends money out. So now Jerry and I have come up with this plan where if anyone gets anything soliciting money in the mail, they have to bring it in, we review it, Jerry reviews it for me, and then we tell the person if it's okay to send the donation. So that's the aspect. He's been very good with the security and protection against scams. Now Judy does a lot in the community with Mesa, with the food. She's helped me set up the food bank that I can take my seniors to on Wednesdays. And Mesa is the Madison Emergency Services that does food bank and also provides other services, and Judy works with that. Judy also does, she does mission trips with her church at Beth Carr and has just been totally supportive. Both of them have really supported my seniors. So I have to give them, you know, the kudos and think they're perfect nominees for this position in Madison County for 5 over 50.
I have lived in Madison County now for 15 years, but to let you know, I come from Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago, went to college and met this guy my senior year in college. A couple years later, we got married.
First job in Chicago, and that's when I met my wife on a blind date. And my friend introduced us together, and we've been married now 56 years. We have 8 grandchildren.
And then we got tired of all the traffic, and my 2 wonderful grandchildren moved to Madison County, and I said I can't live without them. So we followed them down here to Madison County. And after we got here and I got everything unpacked, Jerry says, so what do you want to do? And I said, I want to volunteer. And I believe that God has brought me to this place in my life where I have no children, no responsibilities to work, but I can spend my time volunteering. And I have been working at the Chamber of Commerce now for 15 years. I started right away. I work there every Monday. Of course, now, not working right now. And then I got introduced to the free clinic, and I worked at the free clinic for about 8 or 9 years. I was on the board of the Literacy Council, and I was a tutor for the Literacy Council. Right now, I'm working with Mesa in the food pantry, and I've been there, we're trying to figure it out, maybe 8 or 9 years. And I'm the intake person, so I'm the one who gets to talk to everybody. And since, as you can see, I can talk, I just love interviewing all the people and getting them into Mesa and getting them the food that they need. So that's where I am today. I volunteer there 3 days a week, and I just love it, and I love the people, and I think God has put me here in Madison County just to do what I'm doing right now.
I was a special agent with the FBI for 20 years, and when I retired, a new contract unit started up doing security clearances for FBI applicants. And I was the original 14 people that started that unit, and we would do all of the security clearances. And I did that for 30 years and just retired April 15th of this year. So that's about 50 years with the FBI. And during my downtime, I volunteered to work as a civilian investigator for the sheriff of Madison County, and loved working with the whole crew, all of the deputies. While I was there, I was also liaison for the Battlefield Piedmont Triad, regional triad, which covered about 6 counties. Triad is a group of police officers, sheriffs, and seniors trying to make living better in the community. And I did a lot of seminars regarding scams and frauds against the seniors to try and protect their checkbook as much as I could. After working there, I could see that the sheriff needed some help from the Board of Supervisors, so I ran for the board, and I won. So I spent 4 years on the Board of Supervisors. At any given time, I think I had 50% against me and 50% for me. But the next day, it was just the opposite. So it depended on what topic we were talking about and where it was going. I've been working on Skyline Cap Board for over 10 years. I have been president and vice president of that board. At the same time, I'm a member of the MESA board, or Madison Emergency Services Association, where my wife works at the food pantry. I'm on the finance committee for that. The
Social services.
I'm on the social services board. There's 6 of us on that board, and right now we have about 55 children that need foster parents. So I would encourage people that if they're interested in fostering a child, contact Madison Social Services. There's a little bit of training that goes with it, but we would be glad to have more foster parents if we could. I'm a member of Beth Carr Baptist Church, on the finance committee there, and I'm on the finance committee in Mesa. So that's a little bit about me. We live off of a private road, and many times Judy's going this way and I'm going that way. So.
Well, I was very pleased when they told us that we got it. It kind of validates all the hard work that we've been doing, and we certainly didn't do it to get an award. We do it because this is what we love to do. But it's nice to know that people appreciate all of your hard work. And I talk about that a lot in the pantry. I don't think people understand how hard, we get in thousands of pounds of food all the time, and we have to move it. It's a really difficult job. And I don't think people even know what a difficult job it is. And since most of us are senior citizens and they're doing all this work, it's a little difficult. But I love the fact that they take 5 counties and they choose people from all of these counties. And I've been to the dinners a couple of times because the man I work with at Mesa got it 2 years ago, and I was there with him. But it's a real honor and a privilege to be nominated for this award.
I've been aware of it for quite a few years, and I've worked with Aging Together, which I forgot to mention. 5 over 50, I've even nominated people for the honor in the past, but there are so many that could win the award that I'm sure it's difficult to pick out who gets the nomination every year. And I appreciate the opportunity and the selection of my wife and I for the 5 over 50 award. It's an honor.
For me, it's the people that I work with. I can't imagine having a day where I get up and have nothing to do. That's why I'm volunteering. I love the people that I work with. And it's funny how the people in town say, you know everybody. Well, I know the underprivileged poor people in town, and he knows the people who are on the Board of Supervisors. So together, we pretty much know Madison County.
Glad to serve the people of Madison County. It makes the day worth it.
Congratulations to the Butlers. I'm so impressed that you moved to Madison County following your grandchildren down here, and Madison County certainly has benefited from that move. I want to remind you to remember to leave a comment on Facebook, and if you're so inclined, show us your support by visiting agingtogether.org, and we hope you consider making a donation. Next up is our honoree from Orange County, Larry Eiben. Here to introduce Larry is Greg Stoner. Greg?
My name is Greg Stoner, and I am very proud and honored to introduce a friend of mine, a fellow pickleball player, an outstanding volunteer, and Orange County's honoree, Larry Eiben. During the 18 years that Larry and Judy, his wife, have lived at Lake of the Woods, he has given a tremendous amount of hours to his community as a volunteer. This award that will be given to Larry tonight is a testimony and a fitting tribute to a man who has given so much to make LOW a better community. To begin with, Larry served as chairman of a fundraising committee at Lake of the Woods Church, whose objective was to raise money so they could build an addition to the church. The committee raised $800,000 for this new structure. And by having this new structure, the church was able to have additional services, which also helped to increase their membership. He also served as chairman of the outreach committee at Lake of the Woods Church. He was successful in getting additional signage on Route 3, which enhanced the church's ability to recruit new members. Again, this was trying to be done for 10 years. So Larry was able to get both things done. What a legacy that he has given to this community and to Lake of the Woods Church. During his tenure there, he served as an emergency vehicle operator. He served as an emergency medical technician or EMT, and he served as training officer for multiple years. In 2009, he was presented the Rescue Squad Member of the Year Award. And in 2009, he also received the Rescue Captain's Award. And in 2014, Larry received the Life Member of the LOW Fire and Rescue. He served with the LOW Lions for 8 years. And during his tenure, he accomplished many things. He served as membership director for 2 years and successfully recruited 27 new members. He served as an eye hearing technician for multiple years. And he designed a brochure for LOW Lions, which is still in use today. So if you want a brochure done that's going to last, ask Larry. Larry is one of the original members who started the Lake of the Woods Veterans Club. He is presently a charter member of this organization. At this time, thank you, Larry, for your service. He handled the Lake of the Woods Independence Day Parade for 2 years. The first year he was co-chairman of the parade committee, and the second year he was parade chairman and handled all planning for the parade. He has served as flag bearer for all events honoring our veterans and has served as a member of the final salute team who attends funerals and gives the final salute to the deceased veterans. He also served as vice president for 2 years of the Locust Grove AARP chapter, and he did serve as president for 2 years. During his tenure as president, the chapter won the Virginia AARP Chapter Service Award for 2 consecutive years. He served as a driver for Woods Cares for several years. This group provided different services to seniors in need of assistance. He handled the 2019 AARP food drive for the Wilderness Food Pantry, and he served as co-chair for the 2019 VIN etching program. The chapter had 50+ cars come through the program, which is a record for the chapter. He became chairman of the Lake of the Woods Honor Awards Committee for 2 years. This was an opportune time because the LOWA board was going to eliminate the committee for lack of volunteers. As usual, Larry stepped up, and during his tenure, the volunteer members were able to save the committee from extinction, and it still thrives today. And in 2014, he received the Warren J. Lodge Award for Excellence from the association. This is the highest award presented by the Honors Committee for dedication to the Lake of the Woods community. But before I go, I want to say, Larry, you deserve this ball cap, which is the Get Her Done ball cap, given to people like you that when you ask anybody to get something done, he will get her done. Thank you, and now my pleasure, Larry Eiben.
Before I talk about myself, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Greg for sponsoring me and Aging Together for sponsoring me for this award. It means a lot to me, but you know, truly there are so many outstanding people that do so much in Orange County that I'd like to kind of say that I'm accepting this award on their behalf. People ask me where I grew up. Well, I started in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a place called Panther Hollow. Many of you may not remember the old Forbes Field where the Pittsburgh Pirates played. Well, Panther Hollow sat behind Forbes Field, and it was also called Little Italy. The reason for that is the place was totally inhabited by Italians who had came across from Italy, went through our Statue of Liberty, and settled in Oakland, Pennsylvania, Little Italy. These people inspired me quite a bit because it didn't matter whether it was a wedding, a funeral, sickness, or health. These people would come to the aid of every event, giving everything that they could possibly give. And what made it special is they didn't have much, but it didn't matter because when somebody was in need, these people were there. That has inspired me to today because I've learned so much from that, and I think because of that, I have become a giving person myself as far as going through my career. I moved to Lake of the Woods steadily about 18 years ago, but I was a weekender for 13 years, and even during that weekend period, I got involved particularly with Lake of the Woods Church. You know, it's very interesting that there's so many organizations I belong to, and it's relatively easy to say, why do you belong to so many? Well, I purposely think it's because when the first one asked me to join this committee or this club, and I immediately said yes, they put an X at the end of your driveway and say that, hey, if you ask this guy, he won't say no. So, with that in mind, of course, I got onto a lot of the various committees. To give you an example, as a member of the Lions organization, there were several members from Lake of the Woods Fire and Rescue. And of course, at every meeting, they want to sit beside you so they can say, we need volunteers to drive ambulances. Would you like to do that? Well, hey, who in their right mind would not like to drive an ambulance? So of course you volunteer to drive the ambulance. So I became an emergency vehicle operator. And then while you're there, they say that's all we want you to do. Then the next thing is, how would you like to become an emergency medical technician? Well, you know, about 18 weeks later of school, you become an EMT. And then they, of course, want to move you to medic. On top of that, I became the vice president of Lake of the Woods Fire and Rescue, which included everything. And then I moved from there to president of Fire and Rescue, which included everything. And I was with them for 10 plus years, and then I decided to step aside. And when I stepped aside, I became a charter member of Lake of the Woods Fire and Rescue. Well, you don't just quit. You know, you kind of go take your energy from there and move it to someplace else. And I had been a member of AARP for, I got to say 20 years. It's kind of comical because I was at a thing where all the clubs were together, and I walked up to the AARP booth and I said, hey, when I look around this community and see all the seniors, you guys ought to have it easy recruiting. And they said, well, you're not a member. Well, I was stuck at that point, so I immediately signed up for AARP. And 20 years later, I'm still with them. And I just finished my tenure as president for the second year. I'm a blessed person. You know, I have to admit that. I've done fairly well for myself in my lifetime. And I think that has aided me so much in trying to give back to the community because I have so much to give back, whether it be in finances or just in my support. So you kind of ask yourself the question, hey, you know, you're sitting here in a nice big house, but there's people out there that need help. There's people out there that need some food, you know, different things. So you just buckle up and go and smile, put a smile on your face when you're doing it. And it's not as difficult as anybody might think it to be when you know you're going out to provide support to somebody in need. So I think I look at it as something that I would continue doing. Nothing could really stop me from doing it. I'm sure even as I move on north to Ashby Ponds, I'll get involved with something. I know that in Ashby Ponds they have 200 plus clubs, you know, and I don't know how quick it'll be before they put an X on my door saying that this man can't say no, but I'm sure it's going to happen. And so they're all the things that just drive you, continue to drive you. You know, you got to suck it up. You know, once in a while my wife complains and I just go, suck it up. You know, you got to suck it up. Yeah, winning the award, you know, it kind of puts you in awe, you know, because you question yourself, like, why me when I know nothing I did by myself. Everything I did was with a group of people, our members that went out and accomplished all these goals and objectives. I have to again, I started off that way, but I have to again thank Greg Stoner and Aging Together for recognizing me. I'm proud and honored to have been nominated for the award, but I accept this award on behalf of everybody throughout Orange County that puts out the effort to help and support their respective communities. You know, so it's not just me, but it's everybody that does their beneficial things for the community that can share in this award. I wish I could get enough miniatures made that I can hand out to everybody, but all I can tell you is thank you. What a tremendous opportunity. What an honor. And again, I accept it on behalf of all the people in Orange County that do so much to benefit their community. Thank you.
Congratulations, Larry. First, I'd like to say thank you for your service to our country, but especially for your service to Orange County. And thank you for just getting it done. We are approaching our goal of $10,000, and we are so close. But we would like for you to consider, if you're so inclined, to please go to agingtogether.org, find the donation button and click on it and consider making a donation. Please also remember to leave a comment on our Facebook page. We would really appreciate that. We have lots of comments coming in, and it means a lot to the honorees to hear all of the positive things that are being said. Next up, we have our honoree from Fauquier County, which also is a couple, the Reverend Tyronne and the Reverend Felicia Champion. And I'm going to introduce them as Nancy Everett.
My name is Nancy Everett. I'm a board member with Community Touch. I'd like to introduce you to Tyronne and Felicia Champion. Tyronne and Felicia, partners in so many ways. They have been co-pastors at True Deliverance Ministries for over 23 years. Through the church and through the grace of God, they have built this nonprofit we know as Community Touch. About 20 years ago, Felicia resigned from her 9-to-5 job to start this vision of helping the less fortunate in the community. They were pastors at this church, and the church sat on over 20 acres of land with many, many buildings on it. Felicia's father had built the Victory Drug Center here on this site back in 1988. But Felicia saw the need to help the homeless folks in the community. A need, land, and opportunity. Well, several years later, Tyronne resigned from his 9-to-5 job to work alongside Felicia to build this nonprofit organization, Community Touch. Well, that's what the history books tell us, but that's not quite enough. Let me tell you how I met them. My company, Greystone, shuts down for one day each year for our day of service. We lock the office doors and head out into our communities. Last year, I had the opportunity to go out to Community Touch. I pulled up to this one-story church with a huge parking lot. Many of my other co-workers were also arriving. There were about 40 of us. Dr. Champion and Felicia came out to the parking lot. They were so happy to see us. They started explaining to us what we were going to be able to help them with that day. So far, I just saw a church and a parking lot. Then they pointed to the edge of the parking lot where I saw a small little building. This was Clara Faith House, a food pantry. Prior to the pandemic, the food pantry was open one day a week. Now it's open 3 days a week. Over the years, the food pantry has fed about 40,000 people. Then they turned us around and we were facing the back of the church. There was a nice kids' playground out there, swings, a slide, some big wheels, and the like. I had no idea that inside the church was a daycare center called Caring for Angels. Over 4 years ago, Felicia answered the need to provide affordable daycare for the families in the shelters, as well as others in the community. Now, mind you, I'm still standing in the parking lot, trying to take in all that Tyronne and Felicia Champion are involved in. Now we started moving past the church, past the food pantry, past the playground, outside of the daycare, and I see an ark. Yep, an ark, just like Noah made. It's a 2-story building in the shape of an ark, and it even has a moat with fish. The ark provides free clothes, furniture, and household goods for those in need. Free. To date, they've served over 20,000 people. My group of coworkers kept walking. We went past one building that was a residence and came up to a second residential building. The 2 buildings are part of Victory Transitional Housing. The Champions sponsor a terrific transitional program that can serve 40 individuals at a time. These folks can stay from 6 to 18 months here on site. Their situations are assessed and goals are placed for each individual to succeed during their stay. To date, over 1,500 homeless folks have passed through these doors. In the middle of all this, Felicia had to excuse herself. She had to go get on the phone. She had heard of a homeless man who was being released from the hospital that day, but didn't have anywhere to go. She was finding him a home. We arrived at the back residential building and saw a number of folks in and out of the offices. There is a staff of professionals on site. These folks participate in the Virginia Housing Solution Program, a state-funded program for homeless individuals and those threatened to become homeless. Wow, so that's what I saw. What I haven't mentioned is that in November each year, the church sponsors a gospel fest. Choirs from all over the area participate. The goal? Raising food for Thanksgiving. This year, Dr. Champion worked with Wegmans to collect 100 turkeys. So the Gospel Fest guests collected the rest of the Thanksgiving dinner fixins, and 100 families had reasons to be thankful. There are 2 more fundraising activities that Tyronne and Felicia put together. This year, their annual charity auction had to be postponed, but they're still planning on a golf outing this fall to raise funds. Tyronne is a gifted grant writer and has been able to tell his story to many state and local programs. So, back to my parking lot. After taking the tour of the property, I find myself back at my parking lot. Huge. I can't believe that the 20 acres of land here helped generate so much fulfillment to so many people. And, by the way, if I would have been standing in the parking lot during the pandemic, I'd need to watch my step. The church hosted their parking lot worship service out there, and it was packed. Tyronne and Felicia Champion are quite a pair, and Fauquier County is lucky to have them. Thank you both so much for all that you do.
Hi, my name is Felicia Champion, and I'm the program director of Victory Transitional House and Community Touch. And we came here, again, as my husband stated, we lived in Alaska for 14 years. And my husband, my father had called us to come and help in the ministry. And a year after we got here, my father died. And so we had 20 acres of land and all these buildings. And so as we began to start the ministry down here, we were very, very new to the community, never been here before. And we just saw a need. So we got with different people in the community, introduced ourselves, and just kind of asked, what's the need in the community? We want to help. We want to be a part of this community. We did a survey in the community. And so we started the church. We started pastoring the church. But as we were pastoring the church, people were coming in with needs. They needed food, they needed shelter. And we said, you know, we have all these buildings. Why don't we just start a food pantry? So we started the food pantry, and then people were coming, they were homeless, and we had the building, and so we were allowing them to stay. And then years later, we realized that we had to become a nonprofit. We had to do all the legalities to make it official. And so that's when my husband came along and we started Community Touch. And I always say Community Touch was birthed out of a need. We came and we said what the need was, and as we began to operate, the needs start coming, and we start trying to fulfill the need. And so it's been just a good opportunity to work in this community and to be able to collaborate with the community to meet the need of the less fortunate in our community. We were just very compassionate about it. We know that, you know, we were called to do this. God had called us to do this. We left our jobs to just give all our resources, our time, and our love to serve the community.
It was open twice a week years ago, but it was by volunteer only, so we had to do once a year.
Once a week.
I'm sorry, once a week rather. And then it just began to grow and grow and grow. And when COVID-19 hit, it really exponentially grew by probably 200%. That we're feeding people, a lot of people in the community. So the numbers of 40,000 or over that time frame of 18 years of feeding people every month, winter, spring, summer, and fall consistently.
It's just the passion and the love for people. I think it was embedded in me as I grew up. My dad was the same way. When we were kids growing up, it was 8 of us, and we lived in a house. And my father always served the community. And if somebody needed clothes, he would tell all of us, go get an outfit out of your closet, because somebody's in need. So I kind of grew up with that embedded.
I like to see lives changed. I like the transformation of the caterpillar to the butterfly, because people will come. We're not about just giving you food or giving you clothing or furniture or a place to stay. But to see a person come in our homeless facility who's been broken down by life, had life's obstacles thrown at them, and they're just torn down from divorce or drug addiction, and to be in our program for a year and a half, and see the transformation, those that do work the program of having to save money. Mm-hmm. We had a guy in here, he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave. He said and he was 50 years old.
He said, I want to retire.
And he said, I've never been this stable in my life. You know, and so to see those people come in that have needs and see them transformed and leave with money in their pocket, a place to stay, having their own car, their kids feel stable, that is the passion, that is the joy that I get of seeing lives being changed. We have a Noah's Ark store in Marshall. It's a thrift store. We opened it probably 7 years ago. It's open now. And that store is what it does, it gives us finance to keep on funding the nonprofit. So expanding that area as well as retail to bring in more funding. We're about expansion and growth and changing more lives.
And also working with our children. You know, I know with COVID-19, a lot of things have changed, but we have children that come in, and with the virtual learning, we had a tutor that come in and that would work with them. But with the virtual learning now, we want to make sure that our kids are successfully processing and progressing in their education. So volunteers, monetary donation is always a need.
You know, I would say that we are totally grateful and we are honored that the community sees the work that we do, and we appreciate the response from the community in regards to financial, to assistance, to help. And we want to thank also our board members of Community Touch who give their time every month to make this happen over the years, and even now we have a great board. And we just want to say thank you for recognizing that we're here for the community, and we want to continue to change lives through Community Touch.
And I want to say that we could not have done what we're doing without the community.
Right.
One thing I love, absolutely love, and brag about this community is the collaboration. We work with the community. We don't do this alone.
Right.
If I have someone in my program that needs counseling, I reach out. If I have someone that needs a Department of Social Services, we reach out. If I'm working with a client that we can only give a portion of funds to, I reach out to another nonprofit, or they come in, or the counseling service. Just the collaboration in this community is outstanding. And so we're not just all by ourselves doing this. We are working with the community to help the family. I told this one landlord, he said, Felicia, I'm not working with your people anymore. You did. And I said, it's not my people. It's the people that live in our community that we're serving. And so that's what I love about this community, Fauquier County, how well the counties and the collaboration and the nonprofit come together. And we do this as one. It's not just Community Touch.
That's right.
It's the whole community that make it work. And that's what I want to say. Thank you to the community for allowing us to come in and be a part of it.
Congratulations to the champions. Someone commented that you truly are champions. And I would just say that you do more than just meet people's basic needs. You have brought transformational change to so many people in their lives and people who are in need. And we really appreciate your drive, your creativity, and your innovation. I would just like to remind you to please leave a comment on Facebook about our honorees. Also, if you're so inclined, go to our website at agingtogether.org and consider finding the donation button and clicking on that to make a donation. We would really appreciate that. And last but not least, certainly not least, is Sallie Morgan, and she is from Rappahannock County, and she will be introduced by John Waldeck.
My name is John Waldeck, and I am truly honored to introduce someone that I have worked with for over 40 years, and she is also a special friend. Sallie Morgan has addressed many major issues facing our community. Listing all the things that she has done and committees she has sat on and organizations she's worked with would take far more time than Sallie gave me to introduce her. I want to focus on not only the things that she has done, but also how she did it. Sallie is a special person with incredible gifts, but she is even more than that. First, I can confidently say we would not be here today honoring exceptional people in our community if it weren't for Sallie. Not only was Sallie the founder of the Area Agency on Aging, she secured the national grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that started the Aging Together program. She was the board chair for most of that organization's existence. Okay, I have to qualify this. Sallie would demand it. Sallie would say, it was a team approach. Well, I'm here to tell you that everything Sallie does is a team approach. So reason number one for why she has accomplished so many things is that she works with a team, and the team always comes first. Reason number two is that she is an incredible writer and grant writer. At times during a meeting where she was discussing her latest grant, I would nudge her and say, Sally, how many grants has it been in a row that you've written? She would roll her eyes and show her annoyance and say, I think it's 25. Who does that? What a value to any organization. Let me tell you a few organizations that have benefited from Sally's incredible gifts. She is the former Community Support Director and Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services. She was initially hired to work with the elderly and established the Area Agency on Aging. She was then tasked with developing programs for the intellectually disabled and those individuals with severe mental illness. This was at the dawn of community mental health movement throughout the United States. She did more than just run programs, she developed them. The third reason for her success is that she cares most for the people that are vulnerable. After retirement from RRCS, Sallie accepted the job as the Executive Director of the Mental Health Association for Fauquier and Rappahannock counties. She set the tone and the urgency in our community with this phrase: there is no health without mental health. Sallie realized that we have a fractured mental health system. Many agencies' success depend upon addressing mental health and substance abuse issues. Agencies such as school systems, social services, law enforcement, probation, and many more. As a matter of fact, Sallie brought together 25 organizations together in a mental health collaborative to address community needs for mental health and substance abuse use in a comprehensive fashion. Now, thanks to the PATH Foundation for funding many of their ideas. Sallie never forgot her home county of Rappahannock. For over 30 years, Sallie has been an active participant in her county's thriving arts community, serving as a board member of the Rappahannock Association for Arts and Community, the RAC. She helps coordinate the Soup and Soul Artists Talk and No Ordinary Person Storytelling series, where she has performed 6 times. She is a rare combination of supporter and creator of the arts. She was also the former board member of the Fauquier Free Clinic, where she helped to develop teletherapy and telepsychiatry for people who can't afford care. She currently serves on the PATH Foundation's Social Responsibility Committee. Sallie is married to a Renaissance man named Todd. Now, Renaissance man is my words, but Todd can do everything. And they live on top of the world of Gid Brown Hollow. I want to end this with what I think is Sallie's greatest gift. At major moments, Sallie has provided leadership when we most needed it to support the elderly, people with intellectual disabilities, and people with mental health problems. We follow her because we trust her, even in this divided world, because she does the right thing for the right reasons. Sallie says, you work to make things happen and then you enjoy the fruits of your labor with others. Sallie, you have truly made a difference. It is time to enjoy the fruits of your labor with others. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sallie Morgan, and I wish I could see your smiling faces. In this format, I don't know what was said by way of introduction, so I just want to thank my friend and colleague John Waldeck for what I'm sure were very gracious and probably overly generous comments. I also want to thank Aging Together staff and board for all the great things you do, and for my colleagues and friends who were kind enough to nominate me for this award. I really do appreciate the affirmation. So, as anybody who knows my husband would probably agree, the great good fortune of my life was falling in love with and forging a life with Todd Morgan. And about 45 years ago, when I was hired to start the area agency in this region, he and I bought an old 4-room farmhouse with no indoor plumbing on a beautiful mountainside in Rappahannock. And we made that into our home place where we raised our delightful daughter Lainey, and this summer are providing COVID-related child care to her daughter Anissa. When we first came out here, my mother was a little worried. She wondered if a rural lifestyle was really going to be stimulating enough, and oh my goodness, that did not turn out to be an issue. I mean, I love Rappahannock, not only for its beautiful surroundings, but also the wide range of very interesting, caring, generous people I've known, partied with, and worked with here. So in terms of work, as I said, I was hired to start the area agency on aging. And at that time, gosh, we were a staff of 20-somethings, and we saw ourselves as community change agents. It was very heady stuff. We decked out buses to do food stamp outreach in the parking lots of local supermarkets, and we took busloads of seniors to Richmond to advocate for food tax repeal, and we lobbied for legal services to come to the community, and we created a whole range of supports and services for older adults and their families, from senior centers to in-home care. But probably the most exciting development in aging services during my tenure was the formation of Aging Together, which really brought the whole community together to look at and figure out how we could make these caring, supportive places for older adults to live throughout their lifespan. So at the same time I was working on aging, aging services were part of a larger organization called Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services, and my job expanded to include intellectual disability and mental health services as well. And it's in those areas I focused over the past 10 years when I became director of the Mental Health Association that serves Fauquier and Rappahannock. There I've had the pleasure of working with another set of amazing community partners to create all sorts of new services and supports for people with mental illness or substance use. We've trained about 2,000 people in mental health first aid. We've worked extensively with the schools and young people, and we partnered with the Free Clinic to create a whole mental health program for their patients. So I think what motivated me in both my volunteer and work roles has always been that idea of working together with people to figure out what we could do better, what things were missing, and to figure out solutions to fill gaps. But something like this makes you sit back and think about your whole life, and what I saw when I did that was not accomplishments, was really faces, especially the faces of people who were recipients or participants in the services I supervised. And these were, many of them, people who had very different life experiences than I had had, many of whom I never would have met in any other context, and people who had such unique strengths and personalities and things that they taught me. And you think about Sister Maggie, who didn't have enough money to buy clothes, but she liked a little splash of color, so she created a new hat for herself every day out of some colorful washcloth and little flowers. And there was Louise, who couldn't walk, So she built herself a little three-legged stool on wheels and scooted all around her house on that thing. It was Jessie, who was such a sweet-looking little lady who, gosh, she could make you blush. She had a terribly risque sense of humor. And Anna, who was, I think, 104 and who still split her own kindling. And so many resilient souls who, despite struggling with a mental health problem or a substance use issue or an intellectual disability, all had dreams and a sense of humor and a spirit of hope. And families who have turned the incredible pain of a child's overdose or suicide into a beautiful outreach to other families. So I think that every act of service or giving is also an opportunity for us to receive. I hope I've been able to contribute to my community, but I know I've received. And I want to thank all of you for your comradeship, your mutual respect, the love and support that I've been gifted with. And I wish all those same things for all of you.
Congratulations, Sallie. Sallie, as many of you know, was the former and previous chair of Aging Together. Some really big shoes to fill. I love you, Sallie, and I'm so happy that you received this award for 2020. I want to say how wonderful it was to celebrate all of our honorees tonight. They're exceptional human beings. Our communities are so much better because of them and because of the service that they have provided, many in retirement and probably busier now in retirement than they were when they were actually working. So we all appreciate and are thankful that we have benefited from that. I also want to give a special shout out and thank you to Ellen Phipps and her team and all the hard work that they put into putting this together. I want to thank our wonderful sponsors and a special thanks tonight to Culpeper Media. Remember, it's not too late to make a donation. Please consider going to agingtogether.org and click on our donation button. And while you're there, please take a look around at all the resources that we are providing. There's a lot of information, a wealth of information for seniors in our community. So take a look around. Please think about next year's honorees. We're always looking for the 2021, so consider putting an application in for someone that you think should be honored in the 2021 5 over 50. Please stay tuned as we go through the credits to see the honorees receive their awards. And again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for donating to us. If this is the first time you've heard about Aging Together, I hope you reach out to us and ask us more about Aging Together. I'm so proud of this organization. I'm so proud of the work that we do in this community. So many good things have happened. And so I wish you a good night and thank you for joining us.